Today, let's see this crazy cross slash in Unreal. There's also a Unity version of this tutorial, by the way. It's a pretty cool effect and you will learn some very interesting visual effects tricks. I made it all available on my Patreon page, where by joining the others you will get access to plenty more assets that you can use in your games or study up close. So, without further ado, let's jump right into this. So let's begin by creating the Niagara system already. An empty system, and we will add emitters as we go. We can rename this to NES and not NE like I did, sorry guys, underscore cross slash. Let's open it up with double click, and with right click we can add an emitter, an empty one, rename it to /01. We are going to have several slashes here, and this one is going to need a mesh and not a sprite, so let's remove the sprite and replace it with a mesh renderer. And for now, just to test things out, we can use a cube just so we can get the motion right. Let's add a spawn burst on the emitter update so we can see something happening. Alright, here we go. And on the initialized particle, let's try a lifetime of 0.45. I'm gonna give you very precise values because it's the ones we have tested and we think it looks nice. And if we want to move this forward, we need the particle update because it continuously keeps updating the particle. And we are gonna animate its position. So on the particle attributes, where you can get attributes from each particle, let's drag and drop the position into the particle update, and now let's convert this vector to position, and from here let's make this into a vector so we can get each axis separated. And in this case we are gonna animate the x-axis. Let's convert it to a curve, and the last key we can increase it to something crazy like 1800, and then we can select all of these keys and say it's auto, so we have these smooth handles that we can control to create this curve. If you look to the cube, here we go, that's a very nice motion and we can proceed with that. Something that's going to be useful is to scale this mesh as it goes. So a scale mesh size that we can convert to float, and from a float convert to a curve. And we can say, for example, that it's going to have a third of its size in the beginning, 0.33, and at the end it's going to be 1. It's going to reach its full size. Let's select all of these and say it's auto so we can have these smooth handles and control them. Alright, looking good. This is how the cube is looking, by the way. Very nice. Now we need a very simple material. So let's create one with right click, new material, yes indeed. The first thing we can say is the blend mode is additive. And then we can do the basic setup where we have a parameter 2D for a texture. And then the particle color. So Niagara can influence the color of the texture. While holding M, let's add two multiply nodes. So we can multiply RGB with RGB and connect to the emissive. And then alpha with alpha and connect to the opacity. Down here for the texture, let's use the gradient horizontal. We are going to give you for free this texture. It's available on the link below, by the way. Let's save this, and essentially this texture is highlighting the edge of the slash. Now I'm going to create a very quick instance of this material. I prefer to use instance instead of the original one. And then on the slash, down here in the mesh renderer, let's turn on material override, click on the plus sign, and let's assign the instance we have created. And now I'm going to replace it with the slash mesh, which by the way, it's this one right here, and it's from this tutorial. I highly recommend you to check out this tutorial where we create exactly this mesh. Even though it's for Unity, what's important for you is the mesh itself. And it's very well explained there, so yeah, make sure to check that out. I left a link below as well. Once you have it, you can come back here, and in initialized particle now, we can adjust the color. For example, I'm going to use these values right here. 8 for the R, 0 for the G, and 100 for the B. And then down here on the mesh scale mode, which is set to non-uniform, you can adjust its scale. For example, I'm going to use 1.2 for the X, 1 for the Y, and 1.5 for the Z. So it's a little bit taller. On the particle spawn, I'm going to add an initial mesh orientation. It might be useful. Let's set the mesh orientation mode to none. If we need to rotate this, we can control it down here on the rotation. And let's make sure it fades out whenever the lifetime ends with a scale color on the particle update. In here we can say RGBA is linear color curve. It will create a gradient, and we can push the first key of the transparency more or less around here, so it fades out at the end. Now, in order for us to spawn particles as the slash moves, we need in the particle update a generate location event. We get a warning saying there's a few models that are missing, and we can click fix issue. Niagara will add them. We still get a warning saying basically that persistent IDs need to be turned on. We can do it in the emitter properties up there, so Niagara can identify each particle. With these issues solved, we can go down here on the generate location event, and the event send rate could be a curve, so throughout the end of its lifetime it spawns less particles. It will spawn less debris, less sparks, and so on. You can push this first key to around 0.5, and then select all of these, and we right click say it's auto, so we can get these Bezier curves and it becomes smoother. And here we go, this is what we have at this point. Looking good, we have the basis of the slash. Alright, so let's move on to the next emitter, which is for the sparks. So we can take advantage of the generate location event. We can call it spark01, and we can place it more or less around here. And let's make sure this spawns something by going into the emitter update and search for a spawn rate. We can say it's 20 here, that should be enough. I'm just going to isolate this emitter to show you that they are all overlapped. They have all the same lifetime and the position. So on the initialized particle we can say the lifetime mode is random, between 0.2 and 0.4, and the color mode can be a direct set. I'm gonna use these values for the color, for example 8.5 for the R, 0 for the G, and 100 for the B. On the sprite size mode, this time it can be non-uniform, so you can stretch this. For example, you can use a small value like 3 and something like 30. And here we go, this is how it looks, it's stretched. Now let's add some movement to this. On the particle spawn we can say it uses add velocity. We get a few warnings again saying that there's a few models missing. All we gotta do is click fix issue. It's basically the solve forces and velocity that is missing. On the add velocity, the velocity mode could be in a cone, and the speed can be random, so they all have different velocities between 800 and 1500. Let's say the cone axis is random, and let's try something between -50 in the X for the minimum and maximum, 0 for the Y, and 10 and 50 for the Z. This will give it a random direction. Oh, and let's add a drag force on the particle update. And since they are not aligned with their velocity vector, and they are going always facing up, down here on the sprite render, on the alignment, we can say velocity aligned. And here we go, we have some very interesting sparks that we can now apply to our slash. Let's make sure they scale down with a scale sprite size. It's just a nice detail. And let's use this curve so throughout the end of their lifetime they shrink. Just going to push the first key to 0.4, select everything and say it's auto, so we can have something like this. So how do we apply this? Well, we need to go up here to the stage and add an event handler, so you can receive the generate location event. On the event handler we can say the execution mode is spawn particles, and the spawn number can be 3 for example. You can adjust these values, play with it, so you can see what they do, but very importantly on the source we must say it's from the location event of the slash. And yes, we can disable spawn rate, it was just for demonstration purpose, but if you get out of isolation mode, this is how it looks, everything together. The sparks with the slash, looking good. Now another thing we can already take care, and we can duplicate this spark01 module with Ctrl D or Ctrl C and Ctrl V, is the debris, which is a 3D object we made available for free on the link below, which means down here on the render we can add a mesh render and remove the sprite render. I actually used the cube just to test things out. By the way, you can turn on spawn rate again, just to see how things are going. Let's add a material to this. You can literally search for GNOME and use the alpha one, it's a material that comes with Unreal. Obviously you can add different materials to this, we are just going to add a black color and that's it, just for demonstration purpose. But the lifetime should be bigger, between 1.8 and 2.8. We are not going to use sprite size mode, but we are going to use a mesh scale mode, random uniform, between 0.25 and 0.75 for example. And here we go, we have a bunch of cubes, and now let's just add an initial mesh orientation so they can have a different rotation. Exactly like this, looking good. And on the add velocity, we can say the X for the cone axis is 0, but it's 50 and 100 for the Z. Oh, and the velocity could be less, since it's debris, it's a little bit heavier, like 700 and 1200. We can open up the angle as well of the cone to 120. Now let's remove the scale sprite size, because we need the scale mesh size, where we say the scale factor is a float and then it's a curve, where the first key could be at around 0.5 and that's it. Let's just say it's auto, fix a little bit the handles, and here we go. Yeah, drag is a little bit too high. I'm gonna decrease it to 4 and add a gravity force so they all go down. The drag basically slows them down, by the way, and the gravity force pushes them down. I'm gonna multiply the z by 3 of the gravity force and add a collision so it collides, well, with the environment, with less bounce to 0.2. Now I'm just gonna replace the mesh with the debris, this one, and here we go, looking good. Now once again we need to attach this to the slash. Let's disable spawn rate and turn on receive location event, and spawn number can be 1. And now let's see how it looks directly on the map. I'm just gonna drag it, and here we go, looking very interesting already. The rocks are falling, but we can add a plane, for example, so they collide with it. Here we go, it's a start. We can make a few improvements. For example, it would be cool to leave a trail on the ground as if it was burning the ground. So let's go back to Niagara, create a new empty for the ground marked bright. Yeah, and instead of using a sprite, let's use a mesh, because it's easier to set up with a plane. It will work better. Let's override materials, add a new material, and we can select the default sprite material. That should do just fine. Yeah, this needs to emit something, so let's add a spawn burst instantaneous to the emitter update. Let's just isolate this. This is what we got. You can try using a projector, by the way, or a decal, but for tutorial's sake this will do fine. Let's just make sure that lifetime is random between 0.6 and 0.8, and that color mode is a direct set, in this case something bright like 0.8, 0 and 10. And very importantly, down here on the mesh scale mode, let's say it's random non-uniform, so we can stretch it in the X and shrink it in the Y. These values worked out well for us. Let's just add a quick fade out with a scale color in the particle update. Make sure it's RGB linear color curve, it's a gradient essentially, and the last key we can delete it, and the key up here could be a dark color like this. Here we go. And to connect these now to the slash, let's go to stage and add the event handler, and in here let's receive the location event. Let's say spawned particles for the execution mode, 1 for the spawn number, and let's say the source is the location event from the slash. And now we can turn off spawn burst instantaneous, and this is what we got so far, looking good. Now just to create some contrast on the trail on the ground, let's duplicate the ground marked bright and call it the ground marked dark. It's going to be larger and it's going to be darker. We need to change the material, by the way. We can duplicate the default sprite material. I'm just going to call it AB, because if we open this up on the material property overrides, the blend mode can be translucent, which means basically it can render dark colors, opposite to the additive. Let's assign it here on the ground mark, and on the initialized particle, let's say it's completely dark and a little bit transparent, like 0.3. And yeah, let's enlarge this on the mesh scale. Oh, and if we want this to fade out on the scale color, we need to add a transparent key at the end, like this, and that's essentially it. Very importantly, we want this to render below the ground marked bright, so on the mesh render, on the rendering, let's say the start order int is -1. Here we go. It's nice, we have a nice contrast. And since it's a cross slash, at this point it's all a matter of, well, duplicating this 4 times, right? The difference is, for example, if we duplicate this slash up here, the position, it should be negative on the X. We can scale curve -1. And we also need to rotate the slash on the initial mesh orientation, 0.5 for the Z. Even though we don't have the trail on the ground and the debris and the particles, let's duplicate one more time the slash, this time for the slash tree, but this time the position. We can copy this X curve, we can reset this value because we need it to be on the Y. Let's convert the Y to a curve and paste it right here. And say the scale curve is 1 and the orientation is 0.25, so it goes to the right if I'm not wrong. Let's duplicate this one more time, and essentially it's more of the same. Since it's already in the Y, the scale curve of the position can be -1. Initial mesh orientation can be 0.75, and here we go, we have 4 slashes. I'm sure there's other ways to do this, but yeah, this is the quickest one. Well, now it's basically a matter of duplicating the sparks, the debris, and the ground mark bright and dark, and make the right connections. For example, the sparks, we can duplicate it, and instead of the source of the event handler coming from the /01, it's gonna be from the /02. And now we need to fix the velocity, for example, like this, and we can duplicate this one more time, the sparks, and say the source is /03, adjust the velocity, but this time it's in the y-axis, and duplicate one more time, but this time the source of the event handler is going to be for the /4. You get the idea, right? And then you need to fix the velocity. It's going to be positive here, and we have slashes for each one. And the same thing happens with the breeze, but this time we can add another event handler instead of duplicating, receive another location event, say it's spawned particles, one for the spawned particle, and it's for the /02. It's much easier with the debris. It's a different method. You can do this 2 more times for the /03 and then for the /04. Here we go, looking good. And almost the same thing happens on the ground mark, but this time this bright one is going to be for the x-axis. We can add another event handler and another receive location event. The source is going to be 02, spawned particles, 1 for the spawn number, yes indeed. And we can duplicate this but for the y-axis. Because on the initialized particle, we need to stretch them on the y instead of being on the x. And I'm sure there's other ways to do this, but you get the idea. And I'm just going to remove these event handlers by mistake, because we could simply switch the source to /03 and then to /04. You know, the same exact thing will happen for the ground mark dark, right? One for the x and then another one for the y. And this is essentially the end result we get with these cool techniques. I'm just going to increase their lifetime of the ground mark dark and go to the slashes to each one, to the pivot offset, and add 100 for the x-axis. And the trail will look better and it comes out exactly behind the slash. So that's essentially it, folks. I made a few more variations and they are all available on my Patreon's page, and by supporting me you get access to plenty of visual effects that you can use in your games. Links below. So that's it. I want to appreciate every patron that supported me last month, and a quick shout out goes to the top tier patrons, which are Alberto Sageras, Alexei, Alian Alstad, Aviat Tobali, Cyber Cradle, Daniel Schmidt, David Molina, Diego Marques, Glua Ama, Frosty40, Grub Lab, Jarrett Billy, Jonathan Carlson, Casey Miller, Lee Ann Holt, Matt Moore, Mike Bell, Moop SDA, O'Brien, Oitz, Pierre Mario Roux, Pradip Sen, Radioactive Bullfrog, Revenant Games, RVR, Sean Aguilar, Spence, Stefani Krasnovsky, Strom, Teen, Verisuta, Whatever Marta, Will Poilian, Zoya Konash, Bizina Seru, Tonya Kato, Xian Pianling, Minjae Kim, and Sanyan Yo. So thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.